So we're live, and here with Frog. Rengar one trick, aspiring. Great guy, great guy.
Reverse challenger
Um,
player.
Reverse challenger player. Playing in bronze, iron, elo right now, I think. Just want to make sure that we have our tools up here so we can mark the VOD when we get in here. I will be switching the window to border. If any of you guys are aspiring coaches or anything like that, borderless is the best way to do stuff because then you actually have the ability to mark up your stuff when you are going through. Now, I was actually in this game playing with Frog. This was just a norms. We were just hanging out doing stuff. But primarily, I believe we are going to look at this one just to look at pathing and clear. So let me just switch this to borderless real quick. Alright. So, what I recommend when you're going through replays first off is that you want to just find the camera on yourself, lock it. If you're not used to going through all of the stuff, the most important thing you need to know when you're going through your replays is that you hit tab, it'll show items. Here are your little things to record, play, jump back 15 seconds, speed up the gameplay, and a little marker on the time bar here that will help you jump around. This is where you control the camera. You can just lock it on your character. I recommend always putting Fog of War to your team. If you're ever doing analysis on your gameplay, you don't want to include factors that you didn't actually see in your game. It'll bring you to wrong conclusions. You'll be a little too hypercritical on your gameplay. Okay, so we'll just speed this up. Running out, running out, running out. A ward on your red to see that you're not getting invaded. That's perfectly fine. And then we get to blue. So when we're getting to blue here, I guess the first question is, we're looking at this. What is the plan that you have for your game right now? I mean, there's a Kayn. You're scared that Kayn's going to invade your red. Are you planning on doing any like level 3 ganks? Because that affects how you do your clear.
No. So generally right here, my plan is to get full clear top bot and then try to get double scuttle.
Alright, so if we're doing full clear and then top scuttle, it's going to be pretty basic. We're just going to go from, let's see here. For some reason, my marker's not working, which is kind of annoying.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, let me just swap it around here. Interesting. I might have to restart my pen tool real quick. Give me just a second.
Should you go for double scuttle if you can? Or should you
You
just
should
back?
always go for double scuttle if you can. I mean, it's the best way to put the enemy jungler behind, especially if they don't end up getting either scuttles. It's a really good thing to do to your opponent. You just have to make sure that when you're doing it, you're not gonna risk leeching XP off of your mid laner and putting them behind, and that you also have the ability to get there and secure it without dying. Okay, there we go. That was strange. Okay, so pretty much clear is just going to be straight from blue to Gromp, up to Wolves, and then just Raptors, Red, and then Krugs.
Crux.
We're going to go for top scuttle, and then we're going to go down for bot
Or
scuttle.
bot scuttle, exactly. That's my generally my game plan most games to start is I go for that kind of.
Okay, so we're going to slow it down as we talk through the clear here, and we'll just kind of watch it. So, jump out of the bush to get your stack. That's good. So when we're watching this, what we want to talk about is that we want to be clearing down. Now, because you're getting a leash, you actually want to stay close enough to the buff so that it's still aggroing on you, but you want to be going in and out longer so that the buff gets confused and actually chases your teammates.
Oh, okay.
So that you take less damage. So like here, they're not doing it correctly. What they should do is that Soraka and Morgana should either both be moving back, or Soraka should go down here, but not stand right on top of the buff, and then you can bounce the aggro. So you get the buff to run towards you, and then you back up, and then the buff starts running towards them, and then you back up and hit it, and you trade the aggro back and forth.
Okay.
Now, you don't want to do it too much because you don't want to lose the clear speed, right? So like right now, what happens is Soraka is doing kind of the right thing. But like there, it'd be better if Morgana would have thrown that out earlier. There's 2 reasons Morgana should have thrown that out earlier. Now, they know that you started down here. Whether they have vision or not, as soon as this Morgana walks into lane and is missing mana in a high elo game, they know exactly
They know.
exactly where you are. So if she was gonna do this, she should have done it at the start so that her mana regen got her mana back up, and then they might miss, and it might be less recognizable where you started. Maybe it
Okay.
regens all the way. So that's
Gotcha.
kind of a bummer that she put you in that position, but it's okay. So
That's very
here,
helpful.
the problem is, right, like this is really low. We should be kiting, if you're not going to smite this buff, you should be kiting out to about here, the end of the radius, and you want to turn around and hit this when it's about to reset. Right now, you're still fighting it inside of its sphere,
Inside of its
so you're
zone.
losing tempo.
Because I could be kiting that almost a Gromp right now.
Correct. Yes.
All that walking time didn't have to be there.
Yep. That's good. Get your stacks. And at this point, you want to start walking it. Yep. Walking it up. Walking it up. See, now here, we make the mistake of going back, right? You're going to smite this buff, right? Which means that you're going to do 600 damage. Which means you only need 2 more autos before this entire thing is gone. It's not going to reset
before those 2 autos.
Before those 2 autos. So what you do is you walk it up, you auto here, and smite, and you're that much closer to your wolves, right? You're starting here rather than back here. Because guaranteed what happens here is you hit it, you smite it, and you're walking to wolves from back here. Right? Now that's only 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds make a difference. Now here, what we do in this instance is I always recommend taking the wolves, hitting them, kiting around the wall so that you can minimize the damage you're taking, and then kiting back up.
Okay.
And then minimize damage here, and then get out here by the time you get your last 2 autos. It's a good rule of thumb that if you're not, even if you're gonna smite, that you want to get it within smite range, or you want to get it low enough to where it's gonna die with your last 2 autos by the time you're walking outside. Yeah, by the time you're walking outside the range.
I have another question for you here. So another reason why I do what I'm doing now where I walk up is because there's that bush right there, and there's not a bush on the other side. So I'll walk up. You'll see. I think I'll do it here. I'll walk up and I'll go to that bush to get a stack. I didn't do it, but...
Yeah, I don't think it's worthwhile that much, especially because you risk resetting the buff, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, for wolves, which aren't that, like, big of a camp to do, where you don't need the extra stack, I think the speed of the clear is more important.
More important than the stack? Okay, understand.
Yep, and that even reset a little bit, which slowed you down again. Now let's watch how you do Krugs here, right? You get your W off. That's great. We're going here. Now, what we want to do here is... So, when we do these, we think about it this way. I'm going to go back 15 seconds here so we can just kind of see. Speed it up a little bit so you get over here. Okay, so here you are. You're going to jump on it. You're going to hit it. Hit your W. As soon as you hit your W, you want to start kiting out, right? And as you start kiting out, then what's going to happen is you're going to start kiting out. And then the little ones are going to die on their own, so you don't want to focus them. But if you keep kiting this out, right, that entire time, the little ones died here, you were here, and then you walk back to kill the big one here. If you just keep walking, the little ones are going to die here, and then you turn around and cue that big one here, right? And now we're that much closer to our buff. Now the thing is like, it seems really kind of extreme to be this critical of the clear.
Important. It's huge.
But when we're talking about 1 second down here with blue, 2 seconds at Gromp,
we're
2 seconds at wolves, 2 seconds at
20 seconds.
Yeah, it can be anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds, right? And that's a big difference when Scuttle's going to be spawning.
Spawning at 3:30. Yeah, no, it's huge.
Yeah.
Because you want to beat the other laner there.
because right now with the way this clear is going, you're not gonna get the scuttle before your opposing laner here. Now here we're making the mistake of we're not kiting this at all. We're just face tanking
We're
it,
just
right?
facing it, tanking. Yep.
So the idea here would be similar to the wolves, right? If we go back, oop, let me switch that real quick. If we go back here, the idea with this is we're going to be hitting it, going out this way, kiting back, or honestly hit it, and since you're Rengar, hit it, bush, jump, and then
Walk.
kite it back, and then kite it this way, right?
Makes complete sense.
Because if we're going to smite it, then because that way it's all about leading it outside of its range. And same thing with this, we want to be hitting it at 2 autos and then smiting when the buff is out here.
Like,
this
when
is
it's
where
outside of its range.
red buff should be dying somewhere in here when you're on your way to Krugs,
Gotcha.
right? Or maybe even here, but we don't want to be clearing it inside of its territory. We're losing way too much tempo there.
I have a kind of a question about that. So if I was gonna do the bolo hop to Krugs, would I want to kite it to the left here, or should I just not worry about the bolo hop?
If you were gonna take it to, so that's a matter of planning, right? If that's
Okay.
what we're doing, then don't use your bolo right here.
Yeah, don't use my bolo. Save it and then go up to the top. Okay,
If that's
gotcha.
your plan, that's fine. Kite it back out this
That
way.
wasn't my plan. I was just
kite
asking.
it this way, and then bolo over. That's even faster. But
That is a faster play.
But whatever you're doing, you got to make sure that it's optimized, right? That's the crucial thing that we're doing. So when we're going here, we've got this, right? And like we said, you killed it here, which not ideal, right? Because we're trying to be up here. And at this point,
We're not even
right,
kiting.
you've got 10 seconds to do these Krugs, and then Scuttle's going to be spawning, and that's not counting the time it's going to take you
to walk.
to walk over there, right? And depending on this guy's tempo, I mean, we can take a look just out of curiosity and take the fog off. But this guy, I mean, he's just as slow, which is pretty sad. You know,
Yeah, he's just as slow.
especially for a Kayn who has way better clear than Rengar early.
Yeah. Rengar's clear is actually not very great, correct?
It's not the best. You don't have a lot of AoE in your kit. There are other champions like a Mumu or Nunu or Udyr who have a ton of AoE, right? Now here we're not doing the worst job. What you do is you should hold your W, that's right, and then walk out. Now let's talk about how this could have been better, right? So we get over here. I'll speed it up a little bit. Let's pause it. So we get over here, you auto that one, and then we should be kiting.
Yeah, we're just tanking, face tanking. We should be kiting right now. Kiting to the bush.
You can kite back, you can kite to this side, something to avoid it so that both of these aren't able to just whack you.
Because if you
walk around, the little one is forced to chase you, the big one will still aggro you. But that's, I mean, even if that's only 1 second or 2 seconds of trading aggro here and taking damage here, you're still staying healthier and you're minimizing. Your jungle pet over time is going to burn this guy down, so you don't really need to be super focused on it. And if you got to give him one auto at the end, that's fine, because of the health regen you're getting by not tanking the entire buff all at once. Now, late game, when you have all your items, you just do them as fast as you can, right?
Sure.
But the kiting still gives you tempo advantage, and nothing is more important in jungle than tempo. Being fastest on the map. So now you clear these here, which is good, right? I mean, this is about...
That's quite a bit out of the range, yeah.
Yeah, if we go and we look at Krugs, I mean, the indicator isn't here, but the indicator on Krugs is pretty much like out to here and about out to there, right? So you clear them like right on the edge of their indicator, give or take, right? I mean, it could have been a little further out, but it's fine overall. Now, Scuttle is spawning in, I believe, 15 seconds.
I think Scuttle spawns right now.
Yeah, right now. See, now, and we're late to it.
Yep.
And the other thing is, we're not super healthy. Luckily, we have Cryo top, but at the same time, that doesn't guarantee anything against the Kayn, and your Orianna almost died. See, now here, the thing that's difficult here is you've got to make... So, when you see Kayn here, you got to make a decision almost immediately on if you're just going to, like, run past him and go straight to bot scuttle and see if you can race him there, especially if you saw him use his smite. If he didn't use his smite, it's a smite fight down here. And the thing that decides if you can get bot scuttle right now is how well these guys are doing. And
Which
it doesn't
they're.
look like they're doing great.
Oh yes, we're on red side. Sorry.
Yup, and you also can't keep going towards mid unless you're going to kill this Echo because your Oriana's basically dead. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you got to go around. Now, Kayn is wasting a ton of time here. So when I'll back this up a little bit and we'll put fog on and I'll show you something
I
that's
probably should have went for Echo there.
well, not necessarily because Kayn is sitting right there, but this is something that's pretty important. So we'll speed this up a little bit. You see the Canaan River there. Now when we go back right here and you see this, here's what you should be thinking, right? Because if I'm looking at your screen and I see this guy right here, if he goes this way, I'm gonna see him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that he's gonna beat me to the scuttle, which is where I want to go right now. I want to go down to the scuttle. Kayn wants to go this way, but if he goes that way, he's gonna go through mid lane, and you can see him with your big ol' eyeballs. Okay, but here's the thing: when we watch this, and I'm not gonna show you. Where's he go?
Back top.
He went this way, right?
Yeah, he went totally the other way.
He went up here. So that means now you have tempo advantage to scuttle. So you know that you can take this now, despite the fact that these people suck and these people suck. Right? You can just run in there, your smite is
Kane's
coming
gone.
up.
Kane went up to top, yeah.
Yep, so you'll get there first. Now, this is only like the first 4 minutes of the game, but that pretty much guarantees that like you now see, and then you get there first, and you get it, and you
No,
smite
I
it.
don't. Oh, I do get it. Yeah, okay.
Now, as soon as you get it, like if we go back here, let's run you over here. There's two things that go wrong here. So when you hit a scuttle, let's talk about this. Scuttle will run away from you in whichever direction you hit it. So when you go here and you hit the scuttle, you hit it from behind. And when you hit it from behind, scuttle runs this way.
I did not know that. Okay.
So even though there's a bush here, the best thing you can do is hit the scuttle the opposite direction of the Kayn, and then walk up to the bush as the scuttle is running away and jump out on it, right? And send scuttle this way, right? Because the only thing that's going to take scuttle away from you right now while you have smite is this Kayn, and he's coming from this direction. So we want to kite away from him. Now, you kind of luck out here. I mean, you get the scuttle anyways, but Kayn also has smite, so that's incredibly close. Like, that's a perfect 600 smite, and if he's like a smidge faster, then maybe he stops you. The other dangerous thing here is now you're running down this way. If this bot lane was intelligent, they would have collapsed and potentially killed you. I mean, you get out, which is great.
But I did use my flash.
But yeah. So that's pretty much it for, I mean, like your early game clear. It's just really, really think about the tempo when kiting away from the buffs and tracking the enemy jungler as much as possible to be optimal, right? Because if you can get here 30 seconds, or not even 30 seconds, if you can get here 10 seconds earlier, right? And you can jump this Kayn out of this bush, or this bush, right? When he's going for scuttle. Good. You could chunk him out, get scuttle, and then you can go down and double scuttle bot, right?
Mm-hmm. Because he's gonna get scared if I jump out of the bush and hit him with all my abilities.
It's all tempo. It's all tempo and clear. But that's pretty much it. I think this is
realistically I could be at scuttle at like 315 if I'm kiting him really good.
Yeah, I mean there are instances where you can definitely be at scuttle super early. Like for example, if I went into give me just 1 second here and let's pull up a I'll pull up an example here. It'll take me just like 1 second. But if we go into, you know, like, uh, Night Blue is a decent jungler, right? Who's pretty good. But I don't see any stuff with him. If you look up like a Korean challenger jungler in
Mm-hmm.
season 14, I guarantee you they're getting done with their last camp probably somewhere around like 3 minutes on the dot, you
Oh
know,
man,
give or take
that's
a
really
couple
fast.
seconds. The really good players are they're pretty fast. Um, but that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you. What other questions do you have?
Um, so I kind of have a question. It's a little bit after the whole clear fact. Right now in the meta, there are objectives on both sides. So you have the void grubs that spawn early, and the dragon.
Yep.
Um, void grubs is really hard to take solo as Rengar. It's almost like, especially low light, because they do so much damage to you. Is it better for me if I don't have any sort of prio or anything, just to give up void mites and go to dragon?
So I mean, that's a really good question, right? I have been trying to identify, the new stuff throughout the game in terms of, what's different, what's the same, etc. In my opinion, if I take I don't have a picture of the map, right? But let's say that this is the map, right? And you've got two people down here, one person here, and then your jungler, right? And these are the lanes, whatever, you know. Um, and then here's your void mites, and here's your dragon, right? I think in the new meta, at 3 minutes to like 3:30 to 3 minutes, I think whoever rotates their support up has priority on this side of the map
Okay.
for the void mites. So in my opinion, like if you're in a game and you want the void mites and your support doesn't come up, even if you have prio in the top lane and prio in the mid lane, I think you get 1 to 2 void mites and then you have to leave. Because if you
Okay.
stay for the third and you greed, there's a good chance that the jungler comes. By the time you clear that third void might, the waves might have reset, and unless your laners are super far ahead, you are going to die up here.
Sure.
I
It
have seen it
happens to me
happen
quite often.
a lot where people are like, I need all three rather than just being happy with the two. And in this instance, they die, and in this instance, they live.
Mm-hmm.
Because the amount of time, like the 30 seconds or a minute that it takes to take the buff, by the time that happens, the waves reset, right, and push back out, and then whatever prio you had, it it just
It's
it just
gone.
it just goes away, right?
It's gone.
It's gone. Now, the way to make up for that is that if your support, right, leaves bot lane early
And
and comes up to
rotates.
help you secure the three. I've seen that happen in a lot of my games, and even when my jungler's the first one there, they might get one, and then the support shows up, and at best, it's a 4v3, so you have to pull back, and your team has to pull back, and they collect the other two.
Okay.
So I think it's important to think about where the support is, and if you can only get one, then take one. I think this is going to be a new thing for junglers because junglers are so used to either one or nothing, right?
Yeah, you either take
And
it all or nothing. Yeah.
and in this, it's almost like being a laner. It's like, would you rather die and miss the XP and gold on something, or would you rather live and get one cannon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, you'd rather live and get the cannon, right? And that's what void mites is. It's like you're not gonna get everything, so sometimes you got to be happy with just two. The buff is strongest at 6, right? So if you can just take two away and it's 4-2, at least it's evened out a little bit.
They also don't get the buff for getting all six of them, which is very important. They don't get the
Correct.
void
So you
mites.
can always run in and you can just smite one of them, right?
Yeah, and they do get the stats from it, but they're not going to get the tower passive, which is really good.
Correct. But that's
Okay,
that's kind of my take on the Void Might situation. But
that's
we'll
very
do a
helpful.
coaching session in the future probably, and we can go over like tracking the enemy jungler, when to gank, uh,
Okay,
and identifying like when you have good opportunities to take neutral objectives and stuff.
okay,
But that should be it.
yeah, I'm pretty good.